Hey guys, you're welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Welcome to the sewing version of this tutorial. So in my previous video we drafted out a pattern for this corset top. If you've not seen the tutorial, I'm going to leave the link in the comment section, so go ahead and watch the pattern drafting video before you come join us on this particular one. It will help you understand better. So I went ahead to use my pattern paper to cut on my fabric, and I added allowance on the base and on the side. Okay, so for the corset part, that is the cup area, I want to use a ready-made bra cup, and I actually want the bra cup to fit into this space that we have here. That is why I've not cut it out. So I'm going to go ahead and place my bra cup around the bra cup area, and this bra cup is obviously bigger than the space that we have here, and we need this bra cup to fit into that space. So what I'm going to do is to go down from my center front by half an inch. Okay, and on the side front I'll also go down by half an inch. So just look at what I'm doing. This half an inch is going to serve as our stitching allowance. Okay, so we don't run short of fabric when attaching the bra cup to the fabric. So I'll go down by half an inch. I will indicate that using my pen, and on the side front also I'll go down by half an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and place my bra cup just like you see me doing immediately after the half an inch mark. So I'll place it like this, and then I'll place the other side like this, making sure that the bra cup is touching the half an inch mark that I have on both sides. And I'll also make sure that I'm not pressing the bra cup too much. Okay, I'll make sure the bra cup is standing and the base of the bra cup is sitting on my under bust line. So I'm going to go ahead and use my pen to trace what I have on the bra cup. I'll trace it on my pattern paper. So make sure you're not pressing the bra cup too much. So after doing that, guys, this is what I have. You can see that the center front is okay. I just went ahead to trace out the side fronts, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut this part out. That way the bra cup is going to fit into the space that we have here. So I'll go ahead and cut this part out. After cutting, I'm going to place the bra cup like this. Okay, and you can see that it is sitting well. So make sure that the bra cup is sitting immediately after the half an inch mark. Okay, so this is what I have. I'm going to turn it around so you guys can see. So we still have our half an inch on the center front, and we have the half an inch on the side front. Okay, so it's going to fit. So what I'm going to do now is to add allowance all around the bra cup area. Okay, because we'll be needing allowance to sew the bra cup to the main fabric. So I'm going to mark half an inch all the way around. On the center front also I'll mark half an inch. On the side front I'll mark half an inch. All this allowance will be needing them so we don't run short of fabric. After marking the half an inch all the way around, I'll go ahead and cut. So after cutting, guys, I'll go ahead and remove my pattern paper. So remember, your center front should be on fold. So I have two pieces of fabric here. One is the lining piece and one is the main fabric. I'll go ahead and iron my hairstay to the main fabric. And for the back, guys, remember while we were drafting, I added zipper allowance to mine. Okay, so I decided not to add a zipper to this top, so I'll be adding loop. So what I did was to fold in my zipper allowance, and then I took out 2 inches. Okay, because I want to add loop. So I'm going to open the pattern paper for you guys to see. So I folded in my zipper allowance, which was 1 inch, and I also went ahead to fold another 2 inches. So that way I took out 3 inches from this pattern paper because I'll be adding loop to the back of this top. So all the fabric that I have on my work table is 4 two piece is going to serve as the main fabric and two is going to serve as my lining piece. Okay, so I'll also go ahead and iron my hair stay to the main fabric. So guys, the next thing we're going to do is to cover the bra cup. So there are different ways, there are different methods that you can use to cover your bra cup, but the one we are going to do now is the one on the thumbnail. I'll be using this piece of fabric. The wideness of this fabric is 40 inches. The length should be long enough to cover your bra cup. I'll head over to my sewing machine and I'll run a gather stitch on both ends of the fabric. After doing that, guys, this is what I have. What I'm going to do is to gather this fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and take one end of the thread and I'll pull gently, just like you see me doing, to form my gathers, and I'll go ahead and also gather the base. So guys, after gathering, this is what I have. I went ahead to do the same thing for the other fabric. Okay, so I'll bring in my cup and I'm going to place my cup inside these gathers, just like you see me doing. I'll make sure that the fabric is covering the cup and the cup is sitting perfectly inside the fabric. And I'll go ahead and pin all the way around. So make sure you drag your gathers so everything sits in the middle. Okay, after pinning, guys, I'll go ahead and sew around the cup. So the space that was provided on the cup to sew, that is where I'm going to sew all the way around. Okay, so take your time to do this. Go ahead and arrange your gathers. Okay, arrange your gathers on the cup. Make sure it's sitting well before you sew. So guys, I've gone ahead to sew all the way around and this is what I have. So what I'm going to do is to trim off the excess fabric on the side. So I'll open it up like this so I see where I'm trimming. I'll trim all the way around and I'll repeat this same process for the other cup. After trimming, guys, this is what I have. My gathers is not that full. So if you want yours to be very full, you can increase the wideness of the fabric that you'll be using for the gathers. So what I'm going to do is to take another piece of fabric that is wide enough to cover the cup and I'm going to pin my cup, the upper area of my cup. I'll pin it on that piece of fabric just like you see me doing. After pinning, I'll go ahead and sew just the upper part of this cup to the lining. Okay, so I've gone ahead to do that and this is what I have. What I'll do is to go ahead and trim off the excess fabric and then I'll top stitch. If you don't want to top stitch, go ahead and use your hemming gum. Okay, place the hemming gum on the bra cup and then fold the fabric towards the bra cup and use your hot iron to hold it down and everything is going to stay flat. Okay, so I think that is the best alternative if you don't want to top stitch. So the next thing I did was to head over to my sewing machine and I'll sew around the bra cup. After doing that, I'll trim off this excess fabric. So guys, I've gone ahead to iron hair stay to my front piece and this is what I have. I also went ahead to iron the center so I know where the center is. I also went ahead to iron where I want to place my boning. Okay, so you can create as many boning channels as you want. As you can see the picture on the thumbnail, I think the boning channel was up to 5 or 7, but I just want to do 3 for mine. Okay, so you can do as many as you want. So go ahead and create your style line in different places and how you want it. So I'll be using this bias because the boning I'll be using is 1/4 inch and this bias is about 1/2 inch. So I'll place my bias on the style line wherever you want your style line to be. I'm going to go ahead and sew 2 straight stitches on the bias and you can use your fabric to create your bias depending on how wide the boning you'll be using is. So I've gone ahead to do mine and this is what it looks like on the inside and on the outside. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and mark the 1/2 inch. Okay, remember we added 1/2 inch all the way around this bra cup area for our stitching allowance. I'll go ahead and mark the 1/2 inch all the way around, okay, both on the center front, on the side front. I'll mark the half an inch around on the two bra cup area. After doing that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my lining. So you can do this in different ways, but this is how I want to turn my fabric and the lining, okay. So I'll bring in my lining and I'll place them right sides facing each other, as you can see me doing. I'm going to sew the center front. I'll also sew the two sides and side front, and I'll turn it inside out. I went ahead to do that and I ironed it in place, and this is what I have. I've not sewn the side or the base for now. What I'm going to do is to bring back my bra cup, okay, just like you see me doing, and I'm going to place my bra cup on the half an inch mark. If you can pin, if you're a beginner, I will even advise that you pin your bra cup to your fabric before you sew. I'm just going to go ahead and sew my bra cup in place. So I've gone ahead to do that, guys, and this is what I have. This is what it looks like on the inside. What I'm going to do is just to weave it when I'm done. So I'm going to go ahead and place my boning, okay. Make sure your boning is about half an inch or 1 inch shorter than your top length. So I'm going to place my boning. I will insert my boning through the channel that I already created, just like you see me doing, okay. Make sure you leave allowance that you'll be using to join your main fabric and the lining together. So after placing my boning inside my fabric, this is what I have. The next thing I'll do is to turn my fabric over like this, and I'm going to sew the base in place, okay. I'll leave the sides open because I'll be using the side to turn everything inside out, okay. So guys, after doing that, I'll go ahead and turn it inside out and I'll iron. So I've gone ahead to sew the base in place, and this is what I have, okay. So guys, for the back, I ironed air stay to the fabric, and I also went ahead to cut out this fabric that I'll be using for my loop. So you can use your bias and you can use your fabric. So the length of this loop is 2 inches because this fabric is quite thick, okay. I went ahead to cut out as many as I'll be needing, and this is what I have. So just fold your fabric into two right sides facing each other. After sewing, turn it inside out. That is how to do it. So on the upper part, I went down by half an inch, which I'll be using to stitch the lining and the main fabric. From that point, I'm going down by 1 inch at different intervals. So I'm just marking 1 inch, 1 inch all the way. And on the base, I went ahead to leave about half an inch also, so that I'll use it to join my lining and the main fabric. So after sewing the loop in place, this is what I have. In case you don't understand, I have a very detailed tutorial on how to create a channel for your loop, so I'll be leaving the link in the comment section. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my lining piece, and I'm going to place it on the main piece, just like you see me doing, right sides facing each other. And I'll go ahead and sew, leaving the sides that I'll be using to turn it inside out, guys. So I've gone ahead to sew all the way around, and I turned it through the side. So I also went ahead to cut out a long piece of fabric that I'll be using to lace my loop. So what I'll do is to use the fabric to lace my loop, okay. So this fabric is about 40 inches long. I cut out a fabric of 1.5 inches. I went ahead to sew it right sides facing each other, and I turned it inside out. That was all I did. So after lacing my loop, guys, we are done with the back. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out the sleeves. So the length of the sleeves is going to be 19 inches and the wideness is 36 inches, okay. So I'm going to fold my fabric into two like this, right sides facing each other, and I'm going to sew on the base. After sewing, guys, this is what I have. I turned the part that I just sewed to sit at the middle. So guys, I tried to figure out the sleeves, but this is what I ended up with. And so what I'm going to do is to cut out my elastic band, which is 10.5 inches. I'm going to place the elastic band on this side that I sewed, and I'm just going to drag it along as I sew, just to form a gathered stitch, okay. After gathering the sleeves, I'll also go ahead and gather the both ends, and I'll attach it to the armhole area of my top. That is all I did, okay. So the last thing I'll do is to join the front and the back piece together. I'll use the allowance that I left of 1.5 inches. I'll sew the two sides together and I'll attach my sleeves to the armhole area. And that brings us to the end of this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave your questions in the comment section. I'll see you in the next one.